what did that mean to the commentator? The commentators read that and thought, capital gains tax. They have said, we will, blah, 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 align capital gains tax with income tax rates. My God, we better do something. They also said, we will up personal allowances. Well, let's wait and see. How are they going to pay for the upping of the personal allowances? One bit I didn't read out. We will ditch Tory inheritance tax proposals. So that set the background for all sorts of things, all sorts of panic measures being taken, people rushing through sales of businesses. And we'll come to that again under entrepreneur relief. Were they right to rush through? In a lot of cases not. But anyway, that document then begat the Queen's speech. The Queen's speech took place on the 25th of May, more of this sort of thing, which then went to the emergency budget on the 22nd of June. Now, I'm an old cynic. My job is to listen to budgets. My job is to digest what is said in budgets and stand in front of rooms full of people like you good people and explain what the rules are and what the opportunities are, what the cunning plans are now. And I had got a little bit jaundiced by the previous administration's budgets, because often what they said was irrelevant. What was in the press releases was absolutely relevant. You needed to read the detail of the press releases. But also what you heard was often repetition. Both Brown and Darling were very good at announcing things which would take effect in the future. I just highlighted some of those from the budget of April 2009. All sorts of things were taking place in the future, and then they'd say it again and say it again and say it again. But this budget, you know, call me a romantic now rather than a cynic, I found it almost refreshing. I thought the boy Osborne did a pretty good job of delivering it. But I sat there thinking, well, this is quite historic really, isn't it? This is the first time I've heard a coalition budget. Even I'm not old enough to remember 1945 or whenever it was. And when you look back on key budgets of the past, I can remember some budgets that Dennis Healey delivered in the 70s. In 77, he had 3 budgets in 1 year. I was in the Inland Revenue then. I was having to deal with the great crisis, which is notices of coding, which I see in the press is now another great crisis, still the great crisis, getting the codings right. My job in those days was in the Inland Revenue, getting the codings right. And when Dennis Healey was changing the allowances 3 times in a year, it was a bit tricky. But hey-ho, I remember Geoffrey Howe's first budget, when Thatcher got in, when he slashed the rates of tax down to a unbelievably low 75%. 75%. Before that, it was 98%. Howe came in on a tax-cutting agenda and cut the top rate of tax to 75%. I remember Lawson's budget in 88, where he cut the top rate of tax to 40. That was a very earth-shattering budget. And I think this one is sort of up there with them. So, again, I mean, I don't know how many people here were in the habit of listening or watching, but I thought, this is one I must watch, I must see him deliver it. I did, and I thought, I'm glad I did. But anyway, that's the emergency budget. And moving on from there, where are we? Well, we have had a relatively short Finance Number 2 Act 2010, and that has set in train a consultation process. What our new leaders seem to want to do is consult on everything. And I have alluded to the pension situation that was in a state of flux. I've alluded to the fact that the rules on the 6th of April 2011 are not going to come into fruition. Yes, I've told you that. What is going to come in, we don't know. Because what Osborne has said is he doesn't like the rules that were proposed and he's going to consult on alternative rules. He has suggested certain matters, which I'll touch on in a moment, but that is one part of the consultation process. There are other parts. We're consulting on research and development credits. We're consulting on the taxation of foreign branches. We're consulting on the manner of the application of the Control Foreign Companies legislation. We're consulting on everything. Which, I don't know, fine, it's up to him. If he wants to consult, fine, I'm not going to stop him. But it does mean that it does seem to be a drawn-out process. But anyway, so that's the background. Now, when I have been speaking, when the great document, our programme for government came out, people want you to talk about it, so you talk about it. And of course, you don't know what you're talking about, because it's all supposition. It's in this document, but I don't know. So what do you have to do? You have to sort of, I think this will happen, I think this will happen, I think, what's going to happen in the budget, Woody? They say, well, I'll tell you, I reckon this. I reckoned, I was on my hind legs the week before the budget, and I said it is a raging certainty that VAT will go to 20%. Aha, I was right. Fantastic. About the one thing I was right on. So VAT is going to be increased, as I say there, 20%. From the 4th of January. Why the 4th of January, you shout? Well, because the last time they meddled with VAT, which isn't that long ago, is it, after all? If you remember, in the height of the credit crunch, when people were worrying about where their next crust of bread was going to come from, as a way of stimulating the economy, they cut VAT from 17.5% to 15%. And from when did they do this? The 1st of December 2008. And when did it revert back to normal? The 31st of December 2009. So a 13-month period ending on the 31st of December 2009, at which point VAT went back. The pubs and the clubs did observe to the then government that wasn't it going to be a bit tricky reprogramming their tills at midnight on New Year's Eve. To which any sane commentator would think, well, yes, it is going to be a bit tricky. There is no doubt that having a change in VAT rates at that point is a ridiculous time to do it. So the 4th of January has been latched onto, quite sensibly, very sensibly in my view. And why have they done this? Why have they done it? Because it raises a fortune in money, of course. Now, I am no economist. You're probably sitting there thinking I'm no tax partner, but anyway, you have to believe that I am. But I'm no economist. But when they cut the rate of VAT as a way of stimulating the economy, I had my doubts. I mean, I understand that in a macroeconomic concept, if you take less money out of the economy, it must be in the economy somehow. But it was just before Christmas, for heaven's sake. Just before Christmas, and I'd been out Christmas shopping, and I was on the high street, and I was looking to buy a Christmas present for my loved ones, and I was in Marks and Spencer's, and I thought, oh, no, I can't possibly afford that jumper over there. She's not that important in my life. That jumper's £47. I can't afford that. Why do I say £47? £40 plus VAT at the old rate is £47. And that's the way to look at it. Now, if I couldn't afford £47 for whatever reason, when that jumper is reduced by the earth-shattering amount of £1, because £40 at the new, or the 15% rate is £46, would that have induced me to rush out and buy? And I just don't buy it. I just can't see that it would have, and it didn't. Particularly when stores like Marks and Spencer's and Debenhams were slashing prices by 20% across the board to get people through the door. So I just don't really understand it. And that cost the Exchequer £12.5 billion. The tax take went down by £12.5 billion. And I just think, was it worth it? I just don't see it. I really don't see it. But obviously the converse is that if you increase VAT rates, the money pours in. And I was saying they won't be able to resist it. They've got to get money from somewhere. And if they want to get money, you can meddle with inheritance tax as much as you like. You can meddle with capital gains tax as much as you like, but they don't bring in the money. If you want money, you've got to get to the root of the problem, and the root of the problem is basic rate income tax, VAT, and national insurance contributions. That's where the money is. There's not actually much money in putting the top rate of tax up to 50%, but anyway, hey ho, that's theirs. So anyway, VAT increased.